This is a true story, revealed in the Quran. A story that begins when two angels descended from the heavens. The earth did not know their names. The people did not know their faces. But the devils, they knew. They came with a knowledge so dangerous, it could break the bond of marriage, shatter families, and plant hatred where there was once love. In the heart of Babylon, they stood among men, and every soul who approached them heard the same words. We are a trial. Do not disbelieve. But curiosity is stronger than fear, and the people listened, and they learned. What they took cost them their hereafter. And to understand why they were sent, we must go back, before Babylon. This is the story of Harut and Marut. If you want more true stories from the Quran, subscribe to Qasas religious stories, told exactly as they happened. Don't miss the lessons that can protect your heart and your hereafter. Let me take you back. Before Harut and Marut, before Babylon, even before people learned about sihr, magic, the angels saw what humans were doing. They were watching from the heavens. What they saw wasn't good. Murder, lies, idol worship, people turning away from Allah. And the angels asked, respectfully, "Will you place on the earth someone who causes corruption and spills blood, while we worship and praise you?" They weren't complaining, just asking. They had never disobeyed Allah. They didn't sin. They didn't get tired. They worshipped day and night without stopping. So to them, it didn't make sense. Why would a creation that lies, kills, and forgets Allah be placed on the earth? And Allah answered simply, "I know what you don't know." That was enough. But Allah, in His wisdom, allowed something to happen, not as a punishment, but as a lesson. He let the angels witness the test of life on earth, not by watching, but by living it. This time, the test wasn't for humans, it was for angels, to show them something they had never experienced. Choice. Every creation of Allah is tested. Adam alayhi salam was tested with one tree. Ibrahim alayhi salam was tested with his beloved son. Musa alayhi salam was tested with the most stubborn people. And now, the angels, pure, sinless, would be tested with something they had never known. The pull between obedience and temptation, a test they could only understand by living as humans live. Allah chose two angels for the test, Harut and Marut. He sent them down to Babylon, a real city in what is now Iraq. Ancient, powerful, filled with people. They didn't come down with wings or glowing light. They came in the form of men, ordinary men. People saw them walking through the markets, eating food, speaking the local language. But they weren't from here. They were on a mission. Harut and Marut were not sent to preach, not to warn, not to guide. They were allowed to teach something very specific, but with a warning. That knowledge was connected to sihr. Not healing, not medicine, not something good, but knowledge that could be used to cause harm, especially between husband and wife. But before they taught anyone, this was the rule. They had to say, "We are a trial, don't disbelieve." And they did, every single time. People would come and ask, and before saying anything, Harut and Marut would say, "We are a test. If you learn this and misuse it, you will fall into disbelief." It was direct, clear. Babylon was no ordinary city. Its walls were high, its markets overflowed with gold, spices, and jewels. But in its temples, priests whispered to the stars, reading omens, casting charms, mixing false worship with hidden knowledge. It was a city where people craved power and would take it, no matter the cost. Some people heard that and walked away. They were scared. They didn't want to risk their akira. But others stayed, and they learned. They didn't want magic for protection or defense. Most of them wanted control. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted to break up marriages. They didn't call it evil. They called it power. And it began to spread. Many of them didn't plan to use magic at first. They only wanted to know how it works. But curiosity can be a door the shaitan pushes open. Bani Israel once asked to see Allah directly and were struck. They asked for more rules, and life became harder for them. Curiosity, without caution, can lead to destruction. At first, it wasn't obvious, but slowly, homes began to break. A man and his wife, no longer speaking. A father hating his son without reason. People accusing each other of things they hadn't done. Confusion, tension, separation. Not because of weapons, not because of crime, but because people were now using that knowledge in secret. This was also the time when people started accusing Sulaiman alayhi salam. They said he ruled through magic. They saw how he controlled the jinn, how the wind obeyed him, how animals understood him, and instead of believing it was a miracle from Allah, they said it was sihr. But that was a lie. Sulaiman alayhi salam was a prophet. He never practiced magic. He hated it. The Quran corrected them. Sulaiman did not disbelieve, but the devils disbelieved, teaching people magic. Al-Baqarah 2 verse 102. It wasn't him, it was the shayateen. Before this lie, Sulaiman's kingdom was unlike any other. The wind carried him wherever he wished. The jinn built palaces and statues at his command. He could hear the speech of birds and even ants. All of it, a gift from Allah. Not magic, not deception. So when the devils accused him of sihr, it was not just a lie, it was an insult to prophethood itself. After Sulaiman alayhi salam passed away, the shayateen, the devils, did something. They dug under the place where his throne used to be, and they pulled out old scrolls, false writings. Inside, spells, rituals, instructions for sihr. These weren't from any book of Allah. These weren't from Sulaiman alayhi salam. But the devil said, this is how he controlled the world. People believed it, even though it was false. Once the scrolls were found, things got worse. People copied them, passed them around, hid them in their homes. It became normal. Instead of relying on Allah, people started relying on these spells. Marriages broke, families split, trust disappeared, and most of them ignored the one warning Harut and Marut gave. We are a test, don't disbelieve. When the Quran was revealed, it exposed everything. Allah revealed the truth in Surah Al-Baqarah. The devils taught sihr, not Sulaiman alayhi salam. Harut and Marut taught only with a clear warning. The people used what they learned to break families, and they knew what they were doing. Allah said, they knew that whoever purchased it would have no share in the hereafter. They weren't ignorant, they made a choice, and they chose wrong. Even in Medina, centuries later, sihr was still a danger. The Prophet himself was affected by magic, cast by Labid ibn al-Asam, a hypocrite. It caused him to forget certain things, until Allah revealed the last two surahs, Al-Falaq and An-Nas. From that day, they became the greatest protection against sihr. So what happened to Harut and Marut after? The Quran doesn't say. There is no authentic hadith from the Prophet ﷺ either. We know they taught with a warning. We know they were a test. But after that, nothing more is revealed. Some stories exist in old books, the Israeliyat, claiming they were punished, chained, or fell into sin. But those stories don't come from the Prophet ﷺ. They don't come from the Quran. And scholars like Ibn Kathir clearly say, we don't rely on them. What we know and what we say is what Allah said. They taught no one until they had said, we are a test, do not disbelieve. That's the truth, and that's enough. Some truths are left hidden. Allah chose not to tell us their fate, just as He hid the exact number of the people of the cave, or the place where Musa alayhis salam met Khidr alayhis salam. He kept this knowledge from us, because what matters is not what happened to them, but what we do with the warning they gave. Sihr is real, but it only harms by Allah's permission. It can't help, it can't protect, it only ruins. Anyone who follows it turns away from Allah, and anyone who stays away from it puts their trust in Allah alone. For more stories like this, subscribe to Qasas Religious Stories.